Have you ever looked up at the night sky and felt something more? A kind of pull, a sense that our real story is way, way bigger than the one we learn in school? Well, today we are diving deep into a fascinating and, let's be honest, pretty wild narrative that claims to pull back the curtain on our true cosmic origins. It's a story that comes from a source claiming to be from far beyond our world.
I mean, these are the big ones, aren't they? The questions that have haunted us forever. Every culture, every religion, every scientific theory, it's all just an attempt to find the answers. But what if the source material we're looking at today has a completely different angle? What if the answer isn't something we have to find out there, but something we just need to remember?
So, get this. The source material for this whole explainer kicks off with this voice, a being named Anu. And he says he's from our parent race, the Pleiadians. He's offering to tell us a history that goes way beyond countries and continents. We're talking about the history of solar systems and galaxies. And apparently our story is right at the heart of it all. Okay, this is where it gets really good. Let's dive in.
So this story, it doesn't start here on Earth, not even close. It starts out there, in the stars. It suggests that those gods who walked among our most ancient ancestors, the beings carved into Sumerian tablets and painted on Egyptian walls, weren't just myths. They were visitors, and they had a message about where we all come from.
All right, so here they are, the Pleiadians. And just look at this description. We're talking 3 meters tall. That's nearly 10 feet, with platinum blonde hair and glowing skin. The source makes a direct link, saying these are the very same beings that the Sumerian text called the Anunnaki. The idea here is that they aren't just aliens. They're our ancient family from a royal bloodline that began in the Lyra constellation. It's a heck of a claim.
Now, to even begin to wrap our heads around this story, the source says we have to zoom way out, like universe level out. Because apparently none of this is random chaos. It's all part of a meticulously designed framework, a kind of divine game with a very specific purpose.
It's called the polarity integration game, and the idea is really deep. It suggests that the creator of everything split itself into countless souls, into us, simply to experience it all. The good, the bad, the light, the dark. So in this cosmic game, light and darkness aren't good versus evil. They're just 2 essential roles, 2 sides of the same coin that souls need to experience to eventually understand the whole picture.
And every game needs its players, its teams. In this cosmic saga, 2 primary forces were set up. On one side, you have the human race, seated by a benevolent, feline race to represent the forces of light. And on the other, the reptilian race, seated by a warrior-like carrion race to play the role of darkness. Their very nature basically put them on a collision course from the beginning of time.
And this wasn't just some philosophical debate between 2 sides. No. This game, this polarity game, it played out as a full-blown physical war across the entire galaxy. A war so huge, it literally reshaped star systems, including ours.
The main stage for this epic conflict was a planet that, well, it doesn't even exist anymore. Tiamat. Imagine a giant, water-covered world orbiting right where the asteroid belt is now. It was here that both human and reptilian colonies were trying to grow, side by side, in a very fragile peace that just wasn't meant to last. And then, it happened. The cataclysm. The story goes that Anu himself arrives, commanding this planet-sized warship called Nibiru. He's supposedly on a mission from the Galactic Federation to end the fighting. But his solution is, frankly, terrifying. He decides to use Nibiru's own moons as weapons, to just shatter Tiamat completely. Okay, you're going to want to just process this for a second, because this slide, this is maybe the single most mind-blowing claim in this whole narrative. The source says the pieces of that ancient battle, they're still here. That massive chunk of Tiamat, it got blasted into a new orbit and became Earth, our planet. The smaller bits, that's the asteroid belt. And Tiamat's biggest moon, Kingu, that's our moon. Just let that sink in. So our world is born, literally from the ashes of a forgotten war. But the story's not over. Millions of years later, those Anunnaki, the Pleiadians from Nibiru, they came back. And they came back with a very specific agenda. Turns out, their mission had 2 parts. First, the practical stuff. Nibiru's atmosphere was dying, and they needed gold from Earth to literally create a protective shield and save their homeworld. But there was a second, much deeper reason. They had a sacred promise to keep,
to help guide the evolution of the primitive hominids on Earth into a new, sentient guardian race. And this brings us to the part of the story that hits closest to home, the most controversial part, the moment where the story of Homo sapiens supposedly begins, not with a slow crawl of evolution, but with direct, hands-on genetic engineering. But there was a problem. The Anunnaki crew, the ones who were sent down to do the backbreaking work of mining gold in Africa, they staged a mutiny. They were like, we're scientists and warriors, not slaves. So Anu and his leadership had to find a new solution. And the answer was literally walking around on the planet. So here's the plan they came up with. Create a primitive worker, something they called a Lulu. The process was incredible. They took DNA from the most evolved hominid they could find, Homo erectus, and fused it with their own Anunnaki genes. And then, Pleiadian females actually served as surrogates to carry the embryos. The result? A brand new hybrid species, engineered to be the perfect workforce. And according to this narrative, that was us, the first Homo sapiens. But it wasn't just about creating workers. There was a second creation event, a more advanced model, you could say. Adalpa and Lilith, who are basically the archetypes for Adam and Eve. Their DNA was special. It was a sacred blend from all four of the key universal races. They weren't meant for labor. They were designed to be the seed for humanity's full spiritual potential, with the whole cosmic game literally encoded inside our DNA. So, if this unbelievable history is actually our history, why don't we remember any of it? I mean, not a single trace. Well, the source material gives us a final and pretty tragic chapter that explains our species-wide amnesia. The answer, as the story goes, comes down to one guy, Marduk, Anu's grandson. He was ambitious, and he saw humans not as a species to be nurtured, but as a resource to be controlled. His lust for power kicked off another devastating war, one that apparently took down Atlantis and caused a vapor canopy around the Earth to collapse. And what did that trigger? The Great Flood. It basically hit the reset button on all civilization. The Anunnaki Council, terrified that humanity would just keep destroying itself under Marduk's influence, made a heartbreaking choice. They decided to save us from ourselves by performing a genetic downgrade. The idea is that they literally unplugged 10 of our 12 DNA strands. This severed our connection to our cosmic past, shut down our psychic gifts, and left us in a kind of spiritual isolation, just a shadow of what we were created to be. And that's where this incredible narrative leaves us. Not with a neat and tidy conclusion, but with a powerful, provocative question. It suggests that this entire history isn't truly lost. It's just dormant. That the memory of who we really are is still there, encoded in the silent parts of our DNA, just waiting for us to be ready to awaken.